Hi, Valerie. Noel. I see two Valerie K's here.
Hey,
How's it going? Sorry, the teenager needed my attention.
No worries. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, how are you doing? Good to see
Good. We'll let folks trickle in here.
How's your Thursday going?
How's my what?
Thursday going.
My Thursday is a little bit back to back today, but that's not entirely
Ooh,
uncommon. It's the context switching. I have to like take a minute and be like,
yeah.
yeah, how's your Thursday going?
Well, I took yesterday off and I took my kid to Disney. So I'm just like getting back into work mode, like, okay, I gotta do all this stuff. Yeah.
Are you in Southern California?
I am. Yeah. Are you in Northern California?
I'm in Utah, but
Oh,
came back from a trip from Southern California. I'm originally from Southern California, but live in Utah now.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
How's Utah? You like it better?
Trade-offs. Utah has beautiful, beautiful access to the outdoor recreation. It's much far less crowded, far less concrete. But the food in Southern California is amazing, and I miss it. I'm
You'll
a
have to come
foodie.
back and visit a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. Food tour.
Yeah, I want to go out to Utah to see the beautiful parks, national parks, right?
Yeah, Utah is amazing. We live like 10 minutes from 15 minutes from several lakes, or 12 minutes from major ski resorts. Um, it's the camping, the fishing, hiking, biking, skiing is amazing. Funny thing is that during COVID, everybody found out about it. Yeah. So anyway, it's on the map. So all right, why don't we just get started? Because I got to jump here at the bottom of the hour. We'll let folks trickle in, but uh, basically the way I structured this, just ask me anything. My background is in recruiting for the past 12 years, primarily venture-backed startups, building recruiting processes, running recruiting processes, recruiting everything from executives down to individual contributor, entry-level folks even. In a former life, I was in software product development, product management. And then I have a background, small background in mechanical engineering. So I've had a bit of an eclectic career path, but I do this to give back and to kind of, help dispel any myths about recruiting or the black box that is the recruiting process. And, with the hope that it'll help you make some better decisions and to allocate your efforts more effectively when it comes to, navigating your job search. So any scenarios, any questions, happy to give my perspective.
yeah, one of the questions I have is I haven't really worked with a recruiter before. What's a good way to get connected to recruiters?
Yeah. So often recruiters will find you,
Mhm.
right? And in a market right now where there's just an abundance of great talent, you might find that it's fewer and far between that a recruiter will reach out to you. Usually when a recruiter reaches out to you, it's not for general networking purposes. It's for a very specific position that they are actively working on,
Yeah.
right? Most recruiters, unless you have a very special niche, and likely scarce set of skills, they likely won't be reaching out to network with you again without any short-term purpose.
Right.
You can call that transactional, you can call that short-sighted or whatnot, but that's just the reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
they make their money. That's how recruiters make
Yeah,
their
and
money.
that's a fair point that I
Yeah.
say I don't have any connections with recruiters. I have in the past, but exactly as you mentioned, it was specific to a certain role that they were actively
Yeah.
filling.
Yeah. In order to connect with recruiters, again, a lot of times recruiters won't reach out to you unless they're working on something very specific and you match sort of that. You check some of the boxes there. So then the, to, part of it is sort of push pull, right? You want to be attractive, and so make sure that your online presence is aligned, or your experience as it's demonstrated through your online presence is sharp, is focused, right? And so, if you're further along in your career, chances are you've had a breadth of diverse experiences. And so sort of handpicking from those experiences to really showcase like a focused narrative about your experience. With you guys are coming from the Never Search Alone community, right? Yeah, so you're familiar with the candidate market fit
Yep.
statement. And once you converge on, a candidate market fit statement that you feel fairly comfortable with, my recommendation would be to basically highlight or select your experience that really shores up that candidate market, CMS, candidate market fit statement. Yeah, CMF statement, right? So handpick the experience that really shores that up, right? Because if it's not helping on your resume or your LinkedIn profile, it's probably distracting, right? So if you have 10, 15, whatever, 20 years of experience, you have a breadth of experience, and figure out your CMF and handpick the experience that you want to showcase such that it really just shores up that candidate market fit statement. And what that also means is like maybe taking away some of the stuff that detracts, right? And
Yeah.
some people have a problem with that, right? It's because like, oh, I spent this time doing that. I'm really proud of it. Be proud of it. But at the same time, it's like just realize that if you're putting stuff on there that is not shoring up your candidate market fit statement, it's detracting
Yeah.
because it's that much more that the recruiter has to read through or sift through that's not directly relevant to your CMF.
Gotcha.
So
Thanks.
be focused, be sharp in your online presence, LinkedIn, resume, and then be attractive, right? You want to make sure that it's, going through the whole process of you're formulating your candidate market fit statement. That's work, right? Because you're saying no to some stuff, but the stuff that you say yes to, make sure that everything sort of aligns. Kind of again, support that.
Yeah.
So you want to be attractive, right? So Matt, thanks for joining us. Good to see you again. The question Noel had was really like, how do you connect with recruiters? And part of it is being attractive to recruiters, right? And the way to be attractive to recruiters is, your narrative, your message on LinkedIn, your resume, whatever digital presence you have, it needs to be sharp, right? It can't be sort of, and again, that's the whole exercise with the candidate market fit statement. It has to be sharp and aligned with that. Because if it's in your resume or LinkedIn profile and it's not supporting your candidate market fit statement, chances are it's probably detracting and distracting from it. So yeah, and I want to just say this, that process is not easy. It takes work and it takes some, how do you say, like a little bit of letting go, of maybe some of those work experiences that you're super proud of, right? And you want to share that with the world. But again, it's you have a chance to share it with the world, but just sort of find that balance with, is that experience directly relevant to what you're looking for, right? Or could it be detracting? So that's being attractive and sort of like, raising a flag and saying, hey, recruiters, come reach out to me. The other piece is like going out and finding and actively networking and reaching out to people that you think, well, recruiters specifically, right? In this case, reaching out to recruiters that you think would be good to partner with. And I always say this is, you have to do this, you have to plant that seed right before you can harvest any fruit. And it takes time. 2 or 3 years ago when the job market was kind of flipped and there was an abundance of opportunities and jobs. I was going out to candidates and trying to build relationships with them. Well, to try to place them in a particular role. And a lot of times I wouldn't get callbacks, right? And so now the tables have kind of turned. And so the point is, things will go up and down, but over time, it doesn't hurt to take a call. And I know right now that's, as somebody that's looking for the next opportunity, you're on the side of, you're the one that's sort of asking to take a call. But at some point it'll turn, I think. I don't know when, but at some point it'll turn. And so building relationships with recruiters when they reach out to you is important. The other thing too is building a relationship with the right recruiters, right? Recruiters typically specialize in region, like geographical region. They specialize in sort of industry, and they tend to specialize around like function, right? So for example, my region is typically a Mountain West region, right? Just because I live out here and that's where my network is. My I guess industry tends to be more tech and early stage startups. And then my function, right, is mostly recruiting sales and engineering and technical talent, right? Mostly. And so if that kind of fits you, then right, then I would be probably a good recruiter to connect with, right? And so you have to find the right recruiter that to partner with. Otherwise, you might just be putting effort into building a relationship with a non-ideal recruiter, right? And then how do you do that? I mean, it takes time. My recommendation is always, engage with that person on LinkedIn, either through their comments or their posts, lead with value, and then you can start to get a conversation going, right? And then the cadence of that also, it doesn't have to be like this big thing where it's like you go out there with guns blazing and, you expect there to be like an instant rapport. Sometimes it's a sort of a slow burn that happens over the course of weeks. And I know as a job seeker, especially if you're economically pressured, that your time horizon for building those relationships is much shorter. And so you have to kind of manage that a little bit, right? The other ways you can find recruiters is through colleagues too, right? I think the interest of a recruiter connecting with you, again, is either because they have a position that they want to fill that you bring value to, either directly through your experience or through your network, right? So if they see you as a person, as a connector that has access to something they're interested in, again, typically talent for their particular positions, then, they'd be more inclined to connect and build relationships with you. Recruiters are, again, they're also interested in, additional requisitions, especially if they're a third-party recruiter. Third party meaning that they don't work for a particular employer. Their employer is an agency, right? And that agency serves clients and they hire and they do searches for those clients. So third-party recruiters, they're interested in soliciting new clients, right? And new requisitions. So if you can tease them with that, chances are they'll take a call with you, right? So getting creative around. So part of it is just understanding the incentive structure, right? The motivations for recruiters. They're motivated by filling their immediate placements. They're motivated by getting a platform to do that. So they get exposure. If you can offer them exposure or access to a network, relevant network, that's very important to them. If you can get them new requisitions, new business, new clients, they're very interested in that, right? And then you also have to, you always have to sort of size up your recruiter based on their seniority, right? There's a full spectrum, right? You have entry level folks, and you have folks that are, running full desk or might even be running a recruiting agency, right? So that's something that you should try to do. Don't just take any call with a recruiter. If somebody reaches out to you, if you're researching recruiters, do your homework on them. How long have they been around? Where are they from? What's their region? What's their industry? What's their their function? What is their seniority? And then be selective about the recruiters that you put your effort into trying to build relationships with. Hope that helps, Noah.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Eric, have you used primary social platforms for that as well? Reaching out to people that you might be Facebook connected to see whether their current positions are with recruiting agencies or whether they post about their own work helping fill roles? Or do you limit that to LinkedIn and other professional platforms?
I use primarily LinkedIn, but there's other avenues, right, that you can connect with folks, just on a personal and some professional level. Facebook has a lot of groups that you can, build relationships with or, find folks to build relationships with. But yeah, in short, it's mostly been LinkedIn. I mean, there's other sort of things in the past that I've tried, like meetups. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, there's a bunch of different forums out there. I mean, there's even like Slack groups. Like, for example, there's like fractional people. I think it's a fractional Slack group of fractional, mostly executives that do fractional work. So when you find, I mean, there's different places that you can find some of these communities. There's recruiter forums or groups on Facebook. And then obviously they have some gating questions that you have to answer up front. Yeah, I mean, they might ask you if you're a recruiter or whatnot. So just use your own discretion as far as like how to get to some of these groups. Well, Cody, I see a question here. Any recommendations on which Facebook groups I find most career groups I found there are just people whining, which makes me feel worse. Yeah, I mean, I think you raised a good point, Cody. Like, there's a lot of stuff on the internet, man, and like you have to, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. Like I have to be sensitive to like what kind of stuff I'm consuming. Like a lot of it is junk food, right? And the junk food can affect your morale. It can affect your opinions, whether consciously or subconsciously. So like you just got to be cognizant of what you're eating. If you feel that it's detracting from your energy, do the right thing and say no to it. Energy management is a very important thing, not just for a job search, it's for your life, for your profession, yeah. It's not so much time. Time management is one thing. Energy management is next level. One thing I'd recommend, like as you guys do this exercise of the candidate market fit statement, you really zero in on, what your experience is and what I would, I would try to position yourself as you have to position yourself as a specialist, right? And not to say that I think there is a trend where companies are starting to, with AI, companies are starting to value more the generalist experience, but I still think for the most part, people get hired based on a specialization, and but they still value. They're increasingly going to begin valuing the generalist nature of your experience, if that makes sense. But what I'm saying is that when you market yourself, I still believe very strongly that you have to market yourself with that specialist mindset, and that specialist mindset will, the idea is that it'll map to a job description, right? Because most companies right now are not looking for generalists. They're looking for people that have specific experience. Again, I think they're even though that the company culture or whatnot may value sort of the generalist nature, first and foremost, they're going to value your specialist nature first.
On that related direction, I think, Eric, you've told us before about some of the things you're looking to change in the near future, long term. How have How has your work gone here and looking for a new, fresh angle yourself?
That's a great question. I appreciate that, Matt. So my
Mhm.
background's in recruiting. For the past 12 years, 13 years, I've been doing recruiting,
Mhm.
full desk recruiting, soliciting clients, building recruiting processes, and searching on them. Recruiting has changed and will continue to change. And I think a large part of it is AI, but it's also where we are in our economic cycle. And I think AI is going to be, I don't know, like, I think AI is going to change the nature of work. And I think it's going to change how there's going to be a transition phase. And I don't know, long story short, is I'm diversifying sort of my offering to the market beyond just recruiting. So this is actually something we're in the midst of right now in terms of this transition. Our website historically has been all about recruiting. Now our website is evolving from just recruiting to be more of a growth partner for startups, entrepreneurs, and SMBs. And people is one component of that growth partnership, that growth toolkit. People, processes, and then also like what I'm calling presence. Still trying to figure it out, the marketing side. The people is the recruiting part, staff augmentation through virtual assistants that are offshore. The presence part is helping these companies, these individuals, these organizations with their online presence, with their branding and their online presence. And then the process part is a lot of it is automation that's going to be powered by AI. So I'm moving away from being people ask me what I do. Before my answer was I do recruiting. Now it's moving to I help founders, entrepreneurs, SMBs grow. So I think I'm right there with you guys in terms of having to learn how to reinvent slash remessage or remarket myself. And I think a lot of people are going to have to learn how to do that. One thing, I'll throw this out there. This is a niche that I've been looking at because I've noticed this a lot across executives. A lot of executives are, serial W-2 earners. They go from one W-2 position to another. And I think increasingly, particularly in the startup market, in the startup space, um, a lot of times executives or just senior level folks are being brought on as sort of a fractional, right? And so how do you transition as an executive or a specialist or a senior level person from a series of W2 positions or opportunities to multi-revenue opportunities, either through fractional consulting, even concurrent consulting or fractional gigs, to monetizing your expertise through educational things, writing books, things like that. How do you transition into that? And if you have transitioned into that, how do you start to scale that and manage that more effectively? That's the area that we're looking at helping folks. I mean, just
Talked
some
with a
food.
couple of, yeah, partly why I ask is I had talked to the some of the local city and other regional government people who handle hiring now, and I can tell they're almost overwhelmed by the number of people leaving government elsewhere and then seeking out local or regional government positions in the places where they now feel like they'd like to be compared to where they were before. And it's tough going for the people who are left who are still hiring in those. You'll get a flood of things from well outside of what your traditional region is in terms of applications because people are now willing to completely move across the country for a city role that they might never even considered before because they had professional connections locally. And I've wondered if there's an angle there where recruiters can really help out in some of these government and other regional areas that are going to absorb all of these people let go from federal government and other types of roles.
That's really interesting. And I haven't. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse in terms of government. The that niche seems like that's it feels like there's a large need there, and that could be an opportunity to, I'm just kind of spitballing here, like for a recruiter to position themselves as somebody that is sort of the expert at helping federal workers transition to maybe more state or municipal level kinds of opportunities, either helping the talent transition or helping these more localized organizations or municipalities find or sift through the right talent, especially if you're getting inundated, which it sounds like. Matthew, is that sort of the space that you're in?
More in a regional way. I go and I talk to my local reps. I talk to the city councilors and things about normal issues. But one of them raised in a meeting just a public forum last week how they had filled an archivist role. And instead of getting archivists from the local colleges and other places where they typically do, they got more than 200 applicants nationwide for what was otherwise a local archivist role, and how challenging that was for them to work through such a long list, even to get to a manageable number, two handfuls of candidates that they then, of course, had to go through the usual process as well. So there are people who are moving into these places where you would really expect to get people who are within 20, 30, 50 miles at most. And
Wow.
there's
Okay.
a real change happening there, I can tell just from their point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's abundance of opportunities, it feels like, and it's just how do you position yourself for it? And if it's something that you can sort of do on the side, that's something that I've been pouring a lot of energy into. And maybe just some food for thought, as somebody that I presume that most of you folks are looking for like a W-2 position, it might be worth putting some effort into, identifying some opportunities or problems or pain points, like a product manager would, and developing maybe some solutions in there, especially with AI and the ability now, and it's getting easier. Not to say it's completely easy, but the ability to leverage AI as part of the research, the development, the testing process for a product or service offering is becoming much easier. If you couple those capabilities, AI capabilities and tools with, your domain expertise and your experience, your experience, it might be worth considering, like, building some products or services around your area. It could also be something that could lend itself well that you could talk to in an interview. The cycle now is a lot faster, right? And your reliance on somebody to actually build the product is there's far less barriers now. Yeah. So if you can go through a few cycles of that, I think that could be really compelling when you're talking to a recruiter or a hiring manager. Even if it's just building a product for yourself or a little tool for yourself that helps address a pain that you're experiencing, right? Ideally, it's a pain that you're experiencing as a professional, right? Like if you say you're a graphic designer and you develop some sort of tool or product or whatever that helps you with, even if it's just a small slice, but if it saves you a few hours a week, you could build that product pretty quickly, and you're your own client, so you can talk about how it helped you, and now you can talk about that in your interviews. It's amazing, right? As a recruiter, like if somebody was telling me about how they automated or solved one of their own problems building a tool or product just for their own profession, even if it's just for their own use, it's fine. But that's a great story. Any other questions? All right. Thank you guys. Oh, by the way, let me ask you guys a question. Did you guys receive that email I sent out? I sent a bulk email out, and I wanted to make sure that it's hitting your. Did you guys receive that? Did it?
I think I did. Was it the one where you were changing your time or something?
Oh no, I think I sent it this morning or earlier today. It was
Yeah,
just basically like, "Hey, I'm back," kind of
I
thing.
got it.
yeah, I got it. I sent you a reply on that. The subject line says 3 p.m. Mountain Time, and then the text says today at 2 Mountain Time. And when
About
you
that.
click on the link, it still says 2 Mountain Time, I think.
Gosh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about the confusion there. I guess a question for you guys. Are you guys using Gmail? Is it hitting your primary inbox or is it hitting like updates or
It came to primary for me,
yeah,
I think it
Gmail.
was primary for me.
primary? Okay.
It
It
does
didn't hit your
still include in the footer also the link to your Delphi project, and that's showing a no page not.
Yeah,
It's showing me a page not
400.
found right now.
Okay. Sorry, you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback. I need to fix some of these things. Got rid of the updates folder on mine. Okay. Okay, guys. Appreciate it. Have a
Cool.
great
Thank
week.
you.
Doing
Thank
this
you
every
so
week.
much.
There was a little bit of traveling, so the schedules are kind of weird, but I should be around for at least the next few weeks and consistently on Thursdays. So reach out if I can help with anything, and hopefully this is helpful, friend. I like it to be intimate. Like I did send this out to a bunch of people today, so I was kind of like, oh, if I get like 50 people, it sounds good on paper, but like the dynamic really changes. And it's less of a
Yeah.
conversation. It's just me like ranting or droning on. So ideally, we get about between 5 and 10 people, but when you start getting more than that, people get really shy. But anyway, yeah, tell a friend. And happy to help.
Great.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much. This
much.
is really
Thank you
helpful.
guys. All
Good
right, have
one.
a great
Good
week.
one, Eric.
Bye.